Good morning, West in the world. Welcome to your review video for Thursday, September the 26th, following our lecture this morning entitled Absolutism and an Incestuous Royalty. In class, in these first few weeks, we've seen the growth of state or political power in Europe, mostly at the expense of religious power. The climax of that moment, we said, comes in the 17th century, in the conflict of the 30 Years' War, where a war fought over religious identity eventually evolves into a conflict over political claims and the hopes of dynastic rulers to expand their own political authority. What emerges in the 17th century then is a new form of political rule that we called absolutism, a model that Europeans are borrowing in large part from their longtime foes, the Ottoman Empire to their east, and the caliphs who rule over it, who exercise authority in both religious and political affairs, and who derive the source of their authority, their legitimacy, from God. European monarchs are going to begin to make the same claims about themselves, claiming something called the divine right of kings as a justification for their rule over their peoples. This is a very common model. It extends to virtually every corner of the European continent. But today we concentrated on two cases, England and France. England, we said, matters mostly because of the trajectory that it takes out of absolutism. That although you have men like James I and Charles I who claim and have strong opinions about their divine right to rule, the trajectory of English history takes them through the chaos of the Civil War to the glorious revolution of 1688, when James II is ousted by his opposition in Parliament and peacefully replaced by his cousin Mary Stuart and her husband William of Orange. The Glorious Revolution matters for any number of reasons. It establishes, for example, that England will, from that point forward, have a Protestant monarch. It also establishes the English Bill of Rights, which spells out the basic rights of English citizens. But more than anything else, it matters because England's government is, from this point forward, a constitutional or mixed monarchy, where a king and a parliament are sharing power, competing with one another, checking the powers of one another. This is quite different than the trajectory of a country like France, where we primarily looked at the example of Louis XIV, the monarch of France between the 1640s and 1715, a reign of over 70 years in length. Louis XIV is famous for having declared, "L'État, c'est moi," I am the state, a good and succinct summation of his political philosophy. In his view, all decisions needed to be centered around him, and everyone needed to be aware of the absolute power and authority of the king. To this end, of course, he spent much of his fortune in the construction of the palace at Versailles, a place where the rituals of kingship could be daily enacted to remind especially the nobility of France's greatness and its relationship to its great monarch. Of course, the lavish spending on his home and on supporting the nobility, the lavish spending that also went along with it in fighting wars to try to expand the borders of France, are eventually, of course, going to be the main causes of the downfall of the French monarchy as well, something that we will turn our attention to after the first exam when we come to the French Revolution. Have a good weekend, everybody. Good luck studying for the test. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I'll see you on Tuesday for our first exam.